Hi, welcome to our Simsbury Free Library Oral History on Thelma Hall. Her daughter, Joanne Vanty, will be doing the interviewing, and we will learn all about the history of Simsbury.
All right, Mom, we're going to interview you since you've been in Simsbury for so many years. Where did you grow up?
I grew up right in Simsbury.
You moved here when you were how old?
I was 1 year old. We moved here from Southampton, Mass. My father was a station agent, Southampton Railroad, New York and Haven Hartford Railroad.
And where did you first live?
When we came to Simsbury,
Yeah.
when we first came to Simsbury, we lived at what was a seminary in Simsbury at the time. It was directly across from St. Mary's School, St. Mary's Church. It has since, I guess way back, been demolished, which is now where the Mobile station is and some apartments.
And you rented there?
Excuse
Your
me?
family rented there and you lived there? Oh.
Yes.
And then you moved to West Street?
And then we moved to West Street. And then we moved further West Street in the brick house next to the American Legion Hall. Yeah.
And what were your parents like?
My parents were great. My mother was real Irish, dearly Bridget McDonough. Yeah. And if anything really bad happened, she would always say, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. And everybody's ears would perk up like, what's up now? Yeah.
Yeah. And her family, did you know anything about her family?
My mother actually was born in Boston, Massachusetts. And she had an older brother, Tommy, and a younger sister, Annie. And whatever happened in Boston, they ended up at the Catholic orphanage in Boston. And this is, I was like 5 or 6 years old when she's telling me this, but Tommy got adopted first, she thought, by a priest. And then Annie got adopted next. And my mother was adopted when she was 12 years old.
And your father, he worked in Simsbury?
My father's, all their family was in Berlin, New Hampshire. He had 5 brothers and 1 sister. And then he was the station agent in Simsbury for many years.
And what were some of his jobs down there? What were some of the tasks?
As station agent?
Right.
Oh, well, everything came into Simsbury then by by truck or by train. So it was a very, very busy place. All the telegrams came to the station agent. Any of the servicemen that were killed came to Daddy's. And he had the copy of the telegram, and I used to go with him sometime, and he had to go to the families. And he hated that job.
And the train station was where?
Where it was a one-way fare. Now it's Plan B?
Right, right. So you hung out there as a child?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to go down after school, and yeah.
Oh, fun. Yeah. And you had siblings?
And what?
Your family, you had siblings? Brothers and sisters?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk about school when you were in school. Where did you go to school?
Central Grammar School.
Okay.
And we walked. We could take the bus until we were in 2nd grade, and I lived on West Street, and that was a good hike, maybe 2 miles. And we could ride the bus until 2nd grade, and then we walked all the way and then up the hill to Central School. And school was never canceled. You'd put your boots, your hat, and you'd just trudge through the snow and think nothing of it, and climb the hill up to Central Grammar. It was just automatic, like it was nothing.
Right. Did you like school?
I like school.
I know you said you liked the library. Did you
Yeah.
like school?
I like school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then high school, you went in Simsbury.
Simsbury High School. Yeah. Graduated in 1943. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, the war was on then. So I was on the basketball team. We had to cancel a lot of the games. Our senior prom was very quiet because gas was rationed. And so it had curtailed a lot of the activities.
Yeah, that must have been a hard time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think 5 or 6 of the guys from our senior class, they left to go in the, they were only 17, they left to go in the service before school ended. They got their diploma, but they went like, November, December, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And do you still keep in touch with any of your classmates?
Yeah, Bob Shaw, he was one that left when he was 17 and went into the Marines. Priscilla Smith, Helen Mashinsky, Evelyn Stafford.
So you've known them since the first grade?
Really, since first
Wow.
grade.
Yeah.
And now this year we will have our, I think, 73rd class reunion, class of 1943.
There you go.
And last year we only had 6 or 7. So we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah. And then you went to college. Want to tell us about that?
I went to Shenandoah College in Dayton, Virginia. I had made up my mind. When we graduated from high school, there was only 5 members of the class that went to college. The other 4 had money. My parents had 5 children, and they didn't have the money. So I had saved all my own money. I sent away from my own brochures. I enrolled myself in Shenandoah College, and I went for 2 years and got my associate's degree.
Good for you. Good for you. And then after college, what did you do?
After college, I was secretary to O. Phelps Case in the town office, and I worked out at, I was a secretary out at the Walker School. Then I worked in the state capitol in Hartford, and then I met your father and fell in love, and we got married.
There you go, Mom.
Had 7 kids of our own.
Now, you also had told us a story about how you volunteered at Avon Old Farms.
Oh,
The soldiers
that was
came back?
very sad. Mrs. Shea was the head of it, was the Red Cross. And there was a group of us that she asked to go down. This was World War II veterans, young, that were blinded by the war. And it was so sad because all the inside walls at the Avon Old Farm is all stone. And you'd be walking with, you weren't supposed to help them, but you'd try to walk close to them, and some would walk right into the stone wall. And you were supposed to do nothing, just turn them around or take their hand. And we had dances, and they loved the dancing because, of course, they were blind. Dancing, it was, I think they
Yeah.
forgot some of their troubles.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
But it was very sad, but very rewarding. You really felt as though you were helping them.
Right. Right. So, any stories of growing up where you might have been mischievous at all or caused any trouble
Well, no.
that you can share?
I was one of 5, so we were kept pretty much in line. But in 5th grade, I was chewing bubble gum, and I got caught. And they took me to the principal's office, Mr. Trosterud, and I had to sit in the principal's office in a chair with a bubble gum on my nose for 2 hours. And not like it is nowadays, I never went home and told my parents that I was sitting there with bubble gum, because they would have said, you were wrong, you shouldn't have done that, and that was your punishment.
Right. Right. All right, so let's move on to Dad. And how did you and Dad meet?
We knew each other in high school, but not really knew each other, you know. But I think I met him, it was at a restaurant. And he just walked in the door, and I thought, uh-oh. He was he went in the Navy, he was 17. And that's how we met.
Yeah. And he was farming then.
He was farming, yeah, yeah.
So did you ever think you were going to marry a farmer?
Well, I always thought the reason I really went to college is because, oh gee, I'll be all set. I'll get out of college, I'll find some rich man, I'm all set. But instead, I got out of college, worked a while, met your father, married a farmer, and happiest days of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did he propose to you, Mom?
He was quiet. I think he just plain asked me. I immediately said, yes, I will.
And so I'm sure you had many wonderful years together.
And we had, our reception was right at the, where the Simsbury house is now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So can you have children, you have great-grandchildren, you have...
I have 7 children in 8 years. I have 18 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. And they're all the very pride of my life. I love them all. And I'm close to them all.
Yeah. Was there any bad times in your life, or besides the war, did you have any challenging times?
Not really. Farming's challenging.
Farming, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
The flood, you were okay through the flood?
yeah.
You were building your house then, right? Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I worked at the state capitol as a secretary 2 years, and I had them keep practically all my money. I had enough probably for groceries. And that was all set aside, so after 2 years, I left. That was, we used for the foundation to build our house on Terry's Plain Road. And, of course, my husband was a carpenter too, and my grandfather, and they built houses in Simsbury. And they built our house, and Eddie Hall helped, yeah. And, of course, we were given the land, and we paid for the foundation. We took out a mortgage for, I think it was like $8,000. And we paid $61.78 a month for our mortgage.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, Mom.
And the house was well built, beautiful, because the 3 carpenters built it, so they didn't cut any corners. And that's all you kids grew up there, where we still are.
And
And
you're still there, and
Yep.
it's still being farmed.
that's the farm. Yep.
Yes, yes. So, let me see what else we have here. So you also had other places. You had a place out at West Hill
Yeah, West
Yeah.
Hill Lake, yeah.
in Sarasota.
And Sarasota,
Yeah.
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 Which
And-
you're going to buy
Yeah.
very shortly,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right. Proudest? What are the things you're proudest of in your life?
I'm proudest that I married Joe. I'm proudest that I have you 7 beautiful children. and all my grandchildren and all my great-grandchildren. I'm very, very proud.
Any other Simsbury stories that you can share? Since you've been in town for a few years?
Well, I do know that if you went to Dr. Murphy, he was really the only doctor in town. $2 a visit. Regardless of what it was $2. And none of the kids ever went to doctors then. You were vaccinated when you went to school. And that was it. I mean, if you had a bad cold, you stayed home with your mother and took care. You didn't go to the doctor for any
Right.
reason whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there was only one doctor.
There was only one doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And with Dr. Murphy, if you couldn't pay him the $2, he'd take it in homemade, like, canned goods that people had put beets up or tomatoes or.
Yeah.
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 You used to do that also with the Rosewood restaurant, with Rose, wasn't it?
Yes.
You would give them vegetables and
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then they would make tomato
And that
sauce
was
and you'd
really
split it.
the only big restaurant in Simsbury at the time was the Rosewood. Yeah.
So
yeah.
where did you hang out? Where did people hang out?
Well, they had the community club, which was down here. Now it has the gazebo, like a park. But they had the community club, and any high schoolers could go there. And that was a great place to hang out. And there was a bowling alley right near it. And of course, well, life was different then. You were home by 9 o'clock at night.
Right. Right.
You
And-
probably walked because no one had cars.
Right.
I mean, even when they were juniors or seniors, no one had a car. Not like now. I mean,
Right,
all the
right.
kids have them. Yeah.
And movies? Did you go to the movies?
Yeah, we went to, it was at the Ena Memorial Hall. And the movies were 25 cents. And they had dishware that we'd always call at home, like instead of the movie dishes. You get a piece of dishware each time you went. The father, Raymond Joyce, was one brother. He collected the tickets and everything. The other brother was upstairs setting up the screen. Yeah. And there was the news. There was a grade B movie, and there was a good movie
For a quarter.
for 25 cents. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
And it was the only theater. And I think there was one in West Hartford, the Colonial Theater, but there were very few theaters around. Yeah. But we loved it. We didn't know any different. I mean,
Right.
it was a quiet, simple life, and everybody was happy.
Right. Right. So what advice would you, well, tell us about raising your children. What school did we go to? Tell them how good we were as children.
My 7 wonderful children, yeah. They all went to St. Mary's School. They all graduated from St. Mary's School. And their picture was in the paper, and I'd taken it down to St. Mary's and given it to someone, I don't know, whatever happened to it. I tried to find it. But it was in the Hartford Current. The 7 halls were all in St. Mary's at the same time. Pam was in 8th grade, and Mike was in 1st grade. Yeah, yeah.
And they were supportive of your farming. They'd let us out to pick for frost.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well-
when I think it was 1970 when the barn burned, they were all nuns then, before the lay teachers. And they called that morning and they were going to cancel school completely and let all the kids come and help. They couldn't because there was chars and everything around. Yeah,
Right.
nothing they could really do.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to share about when the barns burned down?
Never found out what happened. The best thing they could ever come up with, that the swallows all built nests way up, and that a swallow could have picked up a cigarette butt, something. And that's the only thing they could ever come up with.
Yeah. There was cattle in there and other animals.
There were cattle,
Yeah.
yeah. Not too many, not
Yeah.
too many.
Yeah.
They got some out, but
Well, you've been a wonderful mother, Mom. Do you have any advice on raising children nowadays?
nowadays, well, love them unconditionally. Listen to them. Try to steer them in the right direction and do the very best you can
Right.
with a lot of love.
And you, Mom, have always had a wonderful outlook. You've always flipped things around and made things look great. Where do you think you got that from?
Probably my father.
Yeah.
He was French and he was quiet, and he never raised his voice. However, if he did raise his voice, you listened, but very seldom, yeah. I didn't get it from my mother, being real Irish,
A little more hot-headed.
a little more hot-headed. She, my sister, oldest sister Cleo, was born in Southampton, Mass, where Daddy was station agent. And she named my sister Cleopatra. Delphin. Delphin was a French name from Daddy's side. Well, this priest came to the house and said to my mother, "You can't name your daughter Cleopatra. Don't you know what she was in history?" And you know what she said to him? "You get out and stay out." She slammed the door. And we said to her, when we used to be talking to her, "Mom, you told a priest to get out of the house and stay out." He had no right telling me what I could name my daughter.
Yeah, so you got it from your father.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
other stories or anything from the town of Simsbury that you remember that left an impression?
Ice cream socials.
Not really.
Yeah.
It was a nice town.
Yeah.
A nice, quiet town.
A tearful parade you always went to.
Yeah, I was a Girl
Parades were
Scout.
big, yeah.
So I marched in, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was belonged to the 4-H club. And it was very quiet, though. Now, on Sundays, way back, nothing was opened. The grocery stores, the gas stations, nothing. It was a day of you go to church, and in our family, if you didn't go to church, you didn't go anywhere the rest of the day. And I think many Sundays we went when our stomach felt a little bit queasy, thinking, otherwise we're going to be, we won't get out all day.
Yeah.
And,
So you went to church with your family?
yep,
And what church did you go to?
St. Mary's
St.
in
Mary's,
Simsbury.
where you were married.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did they have like ice cream socials or?
They had one at Mrs. Wood's. She had like an ice cream social on 4th of July, and you could all go, and she gave everyone ice cream. And it was very, very nice.
Yeah.
And we used to go skating at Woods' Pond, which is right behind the Simsbury house. And we would just all go with our skates. No one ever came with you. You went as a group. And as a matter of fact, you wore the skates until there was no skate left. They were passed down. And Woods' Pond wasn't deep enough that you really had to worry about anyone drowning. And just a group would go all by themselves, no parents, skate, come back, and that was it. Yeah, yeah.
Good. Good. Anything else you'd like to share?
Gosh, I think I shared.
Covered some great stories.
I think I shared quite a bit.
Okay.
But Simsbury is a wonderful town, a wonderful town. And since I'm probably one of the oldest members in it now, I can still say it.
Tell us about your library story. You were telling us before the interview started about what you did at the library, what you waited for.
I used to wait for the Child Life, the monthly magazine, to come out. You couldn't take it out of the library until it had been here like a week. And I made sure I was right back there first to take it out. Yeah, yeah. And
And my question, when you lived on West Street, what did you do for fun? Did you have fun? What did you do? Yeah.
you mean in high school
Or
or?
before in high school, when you were growing up, where did you play?
We played, seems to me you were more like right around your own area where you played, yeah.
Did you play at the Grist? I think you mentioned something about the Grist Mill.
The Grist Mill, when my father was station agent, Mr. O'Leary would come through. He was the conductor on the train, and they had to take lots of bags of grain out to the grist mill. That was very, very popular. And I don't think he was supposed to, but he would give me a ride home from the railroad station to my house on West Street. I just had to run up a little hill and run across the street. I think that was a no-no, but back then. But, and we used to go down after school, sometimes to play in the grist mill. They had all these bags until Mr. O'Meara would say, uh-oh, that's enough, get out of here, kids. Jumping on the bags of grain.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was simple. We had fun. I mean, we played tag and played Red Rover, won't you come over? It was simple things,
Right.
yeah. Jump rope. But we thought they were great. I mean, that's all we knew. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I often thought, now in this day and age, what kids would you find do that? I mean, that would be like their worst. I mean, they'd be bored to death. Yeah, we used to kick the can, and
Yep.
Kids still do that. They do that. It's just harder because there's so many distractions. That's what
yeah, yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
Do you have pictures you want to share? Did you bring?
Yeah, did you want to share your pictures, Mom?
Now, I don't know if that was my high school from graduation.
Oh, here, I'll take it up. Let me see. I'll see if I can get it on the.
All right.
Let's see. Graduation photo.
Yeah.
That's clear enough. Oh my gosh! Look at this.
And these are my 7 children. Because I had 7 and 8 years, so
If
they
you
were
want to hold
all.
it, I'll try to zoom the camera. That's so cute.
That's my pride and joy.
That's great. Let's see what else we have.
Isn't that remarkable what you can do? Huh?
They all look a lot alike, huh?
They do.
Look at
Yeah, these are little.
our haircuts. That's her family.
Did you do their haircuts? Did you cut their hair?
Now
Pretty
this
obvious.
was, my husband used to cut the boys' hair.
But who cut ours?
And you know, one time he cut it a little too close with the clippers. Of course, Joey was in St. Mary's, so the next morning we had to put a little black polish where the spot was. When we all listen.
Who's in that picture?
Who's in that picture, Mom?
Well, that was my whole family, my mother and father, and I was one of 5.
And you're in the center there.
Hmm?
You're right in the center, in the white.
Yep. First grade at Central Grammar.
And your teacher was?
Esther Godfrey.
It's hard to see.
I think she has some. another one, but it's a paper one.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just, let's see if we can see this one. It's not focusing. That's great. So what year was that, did you figure?
Maybe 1931.
That's awesome. I'll put it back in, careful. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, that was good.
Great. So excited that you came to do this. It'll
Hey,
end up great.
I'm glad we are too.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.